The first time they saw Earth's fleet, the galaxy laughed. The ships that left orbit looked like toys. Gray metal hulls patched with old alloys, engines that flickered like candlelight beside the roaring blue thrusters of alien vessels. Across the galactic channels, laughter rippled in dozens of languages, from the cold clicks of the Valhari to the hissing speech of the Karen Dominion. Humans, they said. They send fishing boats to a star war. But among that trembling line of human ships, one bore a single symbol scorched into its side, Valkyrie 12. Its commander, Captain Aaron Holt, stood on the bridge, silent as static filled the comms. His eyes were pale gray, reflecting the endless black outside. He had heard the laughter too. Everyone had. Aaron remembered it even as a child, the day the Alliance rejected humanity's petition for equal membership. They called Earth a primitive spark, a world of mud and music trying to play soldier among empires that had burned stars before humans built their first telescope. For decades, humans traded silence for survival, building slowly, stubbornly. And now, with the fleet assembled, the galaxy had come to watch them fail. The Battle of Darren Rift was supposed to be humanity's welcome test, a show of strength to prove worth. Instead, it had become a stage for ridicule. Aaron's second officer, Lyra Den, adjusted the hollow screen. Her voice trembled slightly. "Sir, they're broadcasting again, mocking frequencies. It's everywhere." On the display, alien faces shimmered, sleek, scaled, or shining with metal exoskin. The Valhari admiral smiled, her 4 eyes narrowing. "Earth vessels, we advise surrender before the first volley. We prefer not to stain the void with your fragile craft." The bridge went quiet. Then, a low murmur passed through the crew, half fear, half fury. Aaron simply said, "Patch me through." Lyra blinked. "Sir?" He nodded. They wanted to hear us speak. Let them. When his voice came over the intercom, it was calm, steady as a mountain under stormlight. "To the fleets of the Alliance, Earth doesn't need your mercy. You think our ship's small because our worlds are small, but you forget. Every metal in our hulls was carved from the bones of a dying world. Every hand at these controls has bled to build what you mock. You see weakness. We see home." Silence followed. Even the static seemed to hold its breath. Then the laughter came again, colder this time. The first shot came from the Valhari side, an energy beam slicing through the dark, bright enough to blind sensors. The nearest human ship, Nova Spear, took the hit straight through the core. It didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. Aaron didn't flinch. "All hands. Battle formations Delta 9. We move on my mark." "Sir," Lyra whispered, "we can't outgun them." "I know," he said. His hand hovered above the command console, fingers trembling for a fraction of a second. "We'll have to outthink them." The Valkyrie's engines roared to life, and the small angular ship dove through the debris of its fallen sister. Alien fire followed in a blazing storm, but Aaron's maneuvers were erratic, too fast, too close, flying through blind zones even their targeting AI couldn't predict. "Sir, we've lost shields." "I know," he said again, voice rising now, a spark catching wind. "Do you trust me, Lieutenant?" Lyra hesitated, then nodded. "With my life." "Then hold it steady." Aaron rerouted every remaining watt of shield energy into the weapon array. It was madness. But it was human madness, the kind that turns desperation into invention. The beam cannons overloaded, glowing a molten white. The alien ships closed in, forming a ring around Valkyrie 12 like hunters surrounding prey. The Valhari admiral smirked again across the channel. "So ends your test, human." Aaron's voice, low and clear, cut through the static. "No, Admiral, this is the beginning of yours." The overloaded cannons fired, not one beam, but dozens, splitting, reflecting through fragments of debris, bouncing off the wreckage of the Nova Spear and scattering into a web of impossible light. Each pulse struck the alien formation from a dozen unpredictable angles, Their shields flared, then shattered like glass. For a moment, the void burned with color, and when the light faded, 3 of the Valhari ships were gone. On the Valkyrie's bridge, no one spoke. Only the faint hum of the dying engines filled the air. Aaron exhaled slowly, voice quiet as a prayer. They mock what they don't understand. Lyra stared at the shattered ships, awestruck. What did you do? Used what we had, he said simply. That's what humans do best. Outside, alien reinforcements gathered. Hundreds now. The battle wasn't over. It had only begun, and across the galaxy, for the first time, no one laughed. The battlefield drifted in silence. Where 3 alien dreadnoughts once glimmered proud and untouchable, now floated only fragments, blackened, molten, and cold. The void itself seemed stunned, unwilling to move, as if space feared to breathe after what had just happened. On Valkyrie 12, systems flickered, alarms screamed softly in the background, but no one moved to silence them. The crew simply stared at the viewing screen. Lyra Den was the first to speak. Sir, we just destroyed 3 Valhari warships. Aaron Holt stood at the command dais, his gloved hands clasped behind him. The reflections of fire danced in his eyes. Correction, he said softly. We showed them they can bleed. A murmur spread through the bridge, half disbelief, half awe. The youngest ensign, barely 20, whispered, We actually hit them. Aaron turned, his voice steady. You did. Remember this moment. They thought we came to beg for respect. We came to earn it. Before anyone could reply, the proximity alarms flared again. A new wave of ships emerged from the rift. Sleek Valhari frigates and the long, blade-like vessels of the Karen Dominion. They came not as spectators now, but as executioners. Lyra's fingers trembled over the console. Multiple energy signatures inbound, sir. There are too many. Let them come, Aaron said. We hold the line until command orders retreat. Retreat? She asked, looking at him. Aaron's gaze stayed on the dark beyond the glass. Not yet. The galaxy's watching. We'll show them what humans do before they fall. Across the rift, alien commanders exchanged uneasy words. The Valhari admiral, still alive on a distant flagship, hissed through her mandibles. This human trick was luck. They cannot repeat it. But the Karen warlord beside her, cloaked in scaled armor, growled low. Luck does not destroy dreadnoughts. That was skill. Dangerous skill. Then we crush it before it spreads. On Valkyrie 12, power surged and died again. The ship groaned like a wounded beast. Lyra turned to Aaron. Engines are unstable. Weapons overheating. If we fire again, we'll melt the hull. Aaron nodded. Then we make the last shot count. He reached toward a console inset with a small, cracked metal plaque. The words were simple, almost childish, for those who reach when the stars laugh. It had been there since the first prototype, a relic from Earth's Academy days. Aaron touched it gently. Lyra, he said quietly, do you know why they fear us? She blinked. Fear us? Sir, they outnumber and outgun us. They fear what they don't understand. They see our chaos, our noise, our art, our emotion, and they think it weakness. But emotion is power. Every time they call us fragile, they forget we build strength from the cracks. The ship jolted violently. Panels sparked. One of the engineers fell against the bulkhead. Smoke filled the bridge. Sir, incoming volleys. Brace. The alien barrage struck like a storm. Shields collapsed. Metal screamed. The bridge went dark for 3 seconds. 3 eternal heartbeats. Before emergency lights blinked red. We've lost half the hull, Lyra gasped. We can't take another hit. Aaron steadied himself, blood streaking his temple. Then we move. Move where? He pointed to the rift itself, a storm of raw gravity, a swirling wound in space. There. Lyra stared, horrified. That's suicide. Only if you're afraid to fly. He barked orders, sharp, clear. The crew obeyed because his voice left no room for doubt. Engines flared white-hot as Valkyrie 12 dove toward the gravitational vortex. Alien ships followed, their captains laughing again. But laughter turned to alarm as the human vessel accelerated into the rift. The gravitational field scrambled sensors, twisting light and distance. Aaron's eyes glowed in the reflection of the storm. "Now," he said, "fire the pulse cannon." "Sir, there's nothing to target. There will be." At the heart of the rift, the ship unleashed its last beam. It wasn't aimed at enemies. It was aimed at the rift's inner mass. The blast ignited a chain reaction. Space itself shuddered, folding waves of gravity outward like the breath of a sleeping god. The pursuing alien fleet was caught in the ripple. Their engines sputtered, their trajectories shattered. One by one, their ships tore apart under their own speed, twisted into streaks of light and vapor. Valkyrie 12 was thrown clear, spinning wildly until its stabilizers finally died. When the shaking stopped, the galaxy was silent again. Half the alien fleet was gone. The rest retreated, terrified of the anomaly now pulsing in the dark. On the battered bridge, the crew sat among the smoke and ruin. Aaron wiped blood from his cheek and smiled faintly. "See?" he whispered. "They thought we'd break. We bend." Lyra slumped against the console, voice trembling. "We can't fight anymore, sir. We're barely alive." Aaron looked out at the scattered debris glowing like distant embers. "Then we live. That's our victory." Outside, across the galactic networks, the laughter had stopped. In its place came whispers, curious, uncertain, and for the first time in recorded memory, respectful. The human fleet had lost almost everything. But in the ashes, something ancient stirred, a truth the stars had forgotten. The human fleet had lost almost everything. But in the ashes, something ancient stirred, a truth the stars had forgotten. Earth had arrived. The battlefield was long gone, swallowed by the drifting dark. Only echoes remained, signals scattering through subspace, the ghosts of destroyed ships whispering across static. For 3 days, Valkyrie 12 drifted without power. No engine, no shield, no light except the dim pulse of emergency beacons. Inside, the air was thin, the silence heavy. Captain Aaron Holt sat alone on the bridge, staring at the faint blue shimmer of the rift far beyond. The rift had quieted now, but its edge still rippled like breathing glass. It had devoured half a fleet, twisted time itself, and somehow, they had survived. Around him, his crew slept in turns, wrapped in blankets, conserving oxygen. They had patched what they could, sealed the wounds in the hull with their bare hands. But the ship was dying, and everyone knew it. Lyra Den approached quietly. Her uniform was torn, her face streaked with oil and fatigue. But her eyes still carried that spark, that stubborn human light that refused to die. "Sir," she said softly, "I've rerouted the last of the power to communications. We might reach the command relay near Sigma Haven if the signal doesn't scatter." Aaron nodded. "Good work." She hesitated before speaking again. "There's talk among the crew. They think we should send a distress call to the Alliance. Not Earth Command, Alliance Central. They might." "Help," he looked at her, unreadable. "Help? They can't ignore this anymore, sir. You forced them to see us. You made them afraid. Maybe now." Aaron's voice cut through her words, quiet but sharp. "Lyra, they laughed while we burned. They won't help. They'll watch, record, and write it down as a cautionary tale. The humans reached too far. That's how they'll remember this." Her jaw tightened. "Then what do we do?" Aaron turned toward the dark again. The rift's glow reflected in his eyes like distant fire. "We do what humans always do when the universe turns its back. We find a way home." By the 4th day, the food rations were nearly gone. The air filters coughed, producing a faint metallic taste. Still, they worked. The engineers pieced together a plan, a desperate one. They could use the last reserves of fusion fuel to power a single burst jump. Not enough to reach Earth, but maybe enough to reach the nearest neutral station. Lyra stood beside Aaron as he looked over the diagnostics. "If the burst fails," she said quietly, "the ship tears apart." He smiled faintly. "If it works, we live." "I'll take those odds." She hesitated, then whispered, "Sir, do you ever regret it?" "Regret what?" The rift, the choice you made. You killed hundreds of them. You saved us, but you changed everything. They'll never forget what happened. Aaron's face hardened. The weight of command etched deep into every line. Regret? He paused, exhaling slowly. Yes, I regret that it had to come to that. But if the choice is between extinction and defiance, I'll choose defiance every time. Lyra looked down, voice trembling. You make it sound easy. It's not. His tone softened. Every captain who sends others to die carries ghosts. The trick is learning to walk with them. The engineers began the countdown. The crew strapped in, their eyes fixed on the cracked display screens. The engines whined, then howled, a scream of strained metal and dying power. Jump in 3, Lyra said. 2, 1. The world tore apart. For a second, light swallowed everything, white, endless, soundless. Then came darkness again. When vision returned, Valkyrie 12 floated before a pale blue planet, a quiet world tucked in the edge of an uncharted system. The engines were dead, but they were alive. Aaron leaned forward, staring at the planet. Scan for life. Lyra frowned at the readings. Low atmosphere, no cities, no signs of civilization. Just air and mountains. Perfect, Aaron murmured. We'll land. Begin descent. Sir, this isn't Earth, he smiled faintly. No, but it might be hope. As the battered ship descended through the atmosphere, the crew watched the surface rise to meet them. Green valleys, silver rivers, skies the color of dawn. For the first time in weeks, someone laughed. Not the cruel laughter of aliens, but the soft humankind. The sound of disbelief and relief tangled together. When they touched down, the hull groaned, but held. The silence that followed wasn't emptiness. It was peace. Aaron stepped out onto alien soil. The wind was cool. The air carried the faint scent of minerals and rain. He looked up at the stars, distant, glittering and cold, and whispered to himself, We're still here. Behind him, Lyra stood quietly. What now, sir? Aaron looked at the sky once more. Now we wait. The galaxy will come looking, but this time, they'll find more than survivors. Because in the ashes of mockery and destruction, humanity had lit a spark, and it was growing. The new world was silent, too silent. When the crew of Valkyrie 12 stepped onto its soil, they felt it first as a vibration beneath their boots. Not an earthquake, not wind, something subtler. A rhythm, faint and buried like a heartbeat echoing through the ground. Captain Aaron Holt knelt, pressing his gloved hand to the earth. It was warm. There's energy here, he murmured. Lieutenant Lyra Den adjusted her wrist scanner. Low electromagnetic pulse readings. Not natural. Something's alive, or was. The planet stretched before them like a vast dreamscape, rolling silver-green hills, mountains wrapped in blue mist, and sky that shimmered with particles reflecting light in slow motion. It was beautiful, but it felt wrong. The ship sat crippled in a nearby clearing, its once proud hull now a patchwork of scorch marks and scars. They had survived a war that was supposed to end them, only to land on a world that whispered like it remembered things better left forgotten. By the second day, they began exploring. Aaron led a small group through the forested ridges surrounding their landing site. Every leaf glittered faintly, metallic veins running through their edges. Lyra, walking beside him, recorded quietly. This place shouldn't exist, she said. Atmosphere's too perfect. Gravity almost identical to Earth's, but no signs of civilization, no ruins, no life signs. Maybe that's what's strange, Aaron said. Maybe it's waiting. They found it by accident, half buried in a valley of pale grass, a structure made of black stone, smooth and curved like melted glass. It pulsed faintly when they approached, humming in frequencies that made their skin tingle. Lyra's scanner blinked. It's old, Captain. At least 10,000 years. Aaron stepped closer. Built by whom? Before she could answer, the hum deepened, and lines of light began to crawl across the stone's surface. Patterns, symbols, words. Not alien, not quite human, but something in between. Lyra gasped. Sir, these markings, some of them match ancient Earth script, Proto-Latin. That's impossible. Aaron's eyes narrowed. Nothing's impossible anymore. That night, back at camp, the air was restless. The crew spoke in hushed tones, trading theories and fears. Some thought the planet was haunted by the remnants of a forgotten species. Others whispered that it was a trap, a graveyard built to lure the reckless. Aaron stood apart watching the stars. They looked familiar from this world, but their arrangement was subtly wrong, as though the sky had been shifted by some ancient hand. Lyra approached, holding a tablet filled with recordings. "Captain," she said softly, "I ran translation algorithms on the symbols." "It's a warning," he turned to her, voice quiet. "Read it." She hesitated, then spoke. "They mocked us when we rose. They burned us when we reached. But in their laughter, we learned their fear. We became the shadow between their stars." Silence hung between them. Aaron's heartbeat quickened. Who wrote that? I don't know. But whoever they were like us. The next morning they dug deeper around the black monument. Beneath layers of stone they uncovered a chamber, small, circular, and lit by the same pulsing glow. Inside were objects that made the crew fall silent. Fragments of old human designs, metal plating, engine cores, even pieces of what looked like writing in Terran alphabet. Lyra whispered, "Sir, this means humans have been here before. Maybe before the first warp drive, maybe longer." Aaron knelt, brushing his hand across the relics. "Or maybe we're not the first species to be called human." Lyra shivered. "You think this is another branch? A lost civilization?" "I think," Aaron said slowly, "this planet remembers what happens when arrogance meets survival. Someone else stood where we stand. Someone else fought the same mockery." Outside, the wind howled through the metallic trees. The rhythm in the ground deepened, louder now, almost like a voice murmuring in the distance. One of the engineers, pale and trembling, ran into the chamber. "Captain! You need to see this." They followed him out into the open. Across the valley, faint streaks of light were descending from orbit. Blue trails, steady and fast. "Ships," Lyra breathed. "They found us." Aaron's jaw clenched. "Alliance?" She shook her head, scanning. "No, not human. Valhari." The hum in the ground seemed to respond, pulsing harder, as if the planet itself was stirring. Aaron stared at the approaching sky, voice low and resolute. "Then it's time we see how much this world remembers." The first alien vessels broke the clouds, sleek, cruel silhouettes cutting through the air. Valkyrie 12's weapons were long dead. The crew scrambled for cover, fear and determination mingling like blood and flame. And deep beneath their feet, in the heart of that ancient monument, something woke. A soft tremor spread outward, carrying with it a whisper in a voice not heard for millennia. It was neither human nor alien, but something both. "They mocked us too." Lyra froze. "Sir, did you hear that?" Lyra froze. "Sir, did you hear that?" Aaron didn't move. His eyes were fixed on the sky. "Yes," he said softly. "And I think they just decided to help." The sky blazed with descending fire. Valhari dropships broke through the clouds like spears of blue light, scattering dust and thunder as they fell. The ground trembled beneath their impact, and the air filled with the low hum of engines designed to terrify. From the clearing near the crippled Valkyrie 12, Captain Aaron Holt stood unmoving, watching the invasion unfold. His uniform was torn, streaked with soot, yet he held himself tall, like a monument refusing to bow to the storm. Lieutenant Lyra Den sprinted toward him, breath short. "Sir, the scanners confirm it, at least 3 assault craft. They'll be here in minutes. Any signals from the planet?" Aaron asked, eyes still fixed on the sky. Lyra hesitated. "The monument's energy levels are climbing, but I don't know why. It's reacting to something, maybe the Valhari landing sequence." Aaron turned, his expression unreadable. "Or maybe to us." The Valhari landed hard, the air erupting in blue shockwaves. Dozens of soldiers disembarked, tall, silver-skinned, armored in scales that shimmered like glass. Their leader, Admiral Voran, stood among them, her 4 eyes burning with quiet fury. "Human vessel," she called, her voice amplified, echoing across the valley. "You were warned not to tread where you don't belong." Aaron stepped forward, weapon holstered, his tone calm but unyielding. "And yet here we are." Voran's expression shifted from anger to mockery. "You mistake luck for strength, Captain Holt. The rift spared you." "This planet will not—" "Luck?" Aaron said softly. "You call survival luck. We call it history." Voran raised her arm. "Then become a memory," she gestured. The soldiers advanced. The first volley came fast, plasma bolts tearing through the valley. The crew dove for cover behind the wreckage of the Valkyrie. Aaron and Lyra fired back, their weapons small but precise. "Sir," Lyra shouted between bursts of fire. "We're outnumbered 20-1. Aaron didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the monument at the valley's edge. The black stone was glowing now, lines of light racing across its surface, pulsing faster, brighter. "Keep them busy," he yelled, running toward it. "Captain!" He didn't stop. The hum beneath the ground had become a roar now, shaking dust from the air, stirring the metallic leaves on the trees until they sang like bells. The monument symbols burned white-hot, then shifted, changing shape before his eyes, rearranging into a single undeniable word. "Welcome." Aaron froze. "What are you?" he whispered. The ground split open. A burst of light shot upward, blinding, pure, ancient. It struck the clouds and tore them apart, revealing the cold stars beyond. The Valhari stopped firing, staring in confusion. Then came the sound, a deep, resonant voice echoing not through air but through thought. "We were mocked once, as you were. We were told we were dust. They came to burn us and we burned brighter." Lyra stumbled beside Aaron, eyes wide. "Sir, it's talking to us. You woke us, children of Earth. We remember your kind. You carry the same fire." Aaron swallowed hard. "Who are you?" "We are the first. The ones who rose before your histories began. We fell, but we learned. Our strength became this world. Our memory, its heart." The Valhari opened fire again, their plasma blasts hammering against the glowing monument. The beams vanished into the light, absorbed like rain into the sea. "They mocked us too," the voice said again. Gentler now, but we endured. Aaron felt heat under his feet, and when he looked down, he saw the ground cracking open in bright veins of blue light, energy flowing like liquid beneath the soil, running toward the Valkyrie, toward his people. "Sir," Lyra cried, it's charging the ship." Aaron turned, stunned. "Charging it with what?" The answer came in a whisper of thunder. The Valkyrie's engines roared to life, without fuel, without power, without logic. The hull glowed with runes identical to those on the monument. The ship, broken and burnt, began to rise. Lyra stared, tears of disbelief in her eyes. "It's alive." Aaron clenched his fists, voice fierce and raw. "Then let's remind them who we are." The ship's cannons, once dead, ignited with brilliant light. Beams of pure energy cut through the valley, striking the Valhari lines. In seconds, the invaders' armor melted like wax. Their ships shattered in midair, falling in flaming shards. Admiral Voren stumbled back, shielding her eyes. "Impossible. You have no technology capable of this." Aaron's voice thundered through the ship's external speakers, steady and cold. "You're right. It's not technology. It's memory." The final blast from Valkyrie 12 tore through the clouds, vaporizing the last of the Valhari craft. When the smoke cleared, the valley was quiet again. The ship settled back to the ground, glowing faintly, alive yet at peace. Lyra whispered, "Captain, what did we just awaken?" Aaron looked toward the monument, its light fading slowly. Something ancient, something human or close enough. A legacy left for those who'd be mocked again. He placed a hand on the ship's hull, feeling it pulse beneath his fingers. And now, it's ours to protect. Far above the world, unseen by human eyes, Alliance satellites recorded everything. Every energy surge, every impossible act. And for the first time in the galaxy's history, the word Earth was spoken not with laughter but with fear. The storm had passed, but the echoes lingered. For days after the battle, the sky above the strange world shimmered with veins of silver light, residual energy from the ancient monument's awakening. The air itself seemed alive, whispering in harmonies that none of the crew could fully understand. Valkyrie 12 floated a few meters above the ground now, its once ruined hull pulsing with quiet luminescence. It no longer creaked or sparked. The ship breathed, slow, rhythmic, almost gentle, as though the planet itself had wrapped its essence around it. Captain Aaron Holt stood beneath its shadow, staring at the glowing metal. His reflection shifted across the polished surface, warped by the patterns of light that now danced like veins across the ship. He wasn't sure anymore where man ended and miracle began. Inside, the crew worked in silence. They were alive, fed by the planet's resources, water that shimmered with faint energy, soil that grew food overnight. Yet unease simmered beneath their awe. Lieutenant Lyra Den sat at the command console monitoring the ship's new systems. The displays no longer used human code. The symbols were alien, living, shifting, translating themselves into whatever language the mind needed to see. She tapped her communicator. "Captain, you should come inside. You need to see this." Aaron entered the bridge, his expression wary but calm. "Report." Lyra turned the main screen toward him. A map filled the air, star systems glowing like embers. Hundreds of them. "The ship's projecting something," she said. "It's not from our databanks. These are locations across the galaxy, each one pulsing with the same energy signature as this planet." Aaron's pulse quickened. "You mean there are others?" "Yes, sir. Dozens, maybe hundreds." He stared at the map in silence. If this planet was a relic of something ancient, something human or close enough, then it wasn't alone. There were others waiting, hidden in the dark. That night, the sky burned again. The crew rushed outside as a streak of blue light cut across the horizon. It wasn't a falling star. It was a ship descending fast, leaving trails of fire behind. "Another Valhari strike?" Lyra called. Aaron squinted. "No. Too small. Too controlled." The vessel landed rough but intact, a sleek craft of Alliance make. The airlock hissed, and a lone figure stepped out. A woman in worn armor, her insignia half-burned, stood before them. She raised her hands slowly. "I come in peace," she said. "I'm Commander Tess Arvin of the Alliance Exploration Corps." The crew exchanged wary glances. Lyra's hand hovered over her weapon, but Aaron motioned her to lower it. "You found us," he said simply. Tess nodded. "The whole galaxy found you, Captain Holt. Your signal, your battle, everyone saw it. And now the Alliance wants to talk." "Talk?" Aaron echoed, voice edged with disbelief. "They ignored us for decades. They called us reckless children. And now they want to talk?" "They don't have a choice anymore," Tess said quietly. "You destroyed 3 Valhari dreadnoughts, crippled their fleet, and awakened something that defies all known science. Every major race is terrified. They think Earth has been hiding weapons older than the stars." Aaron folded his arms. "We didn't find a weapon. We found a warning." Tess looked past him at the glowing monument. "Whatever it is, it's alive. And it's listening. The Alliance wants to contain it. The Valhari want to destroy it. Both will come here soon. You need to decide which enemy you'd rather face." Aaron's eyes darkened. "Neither." As night deepened, the monument began to hum again. Soft light rippled across its surface, forming words only Aaron could hear, whispering directly into his thoughts. "They will come again as they always do. But remember, Captain, fire is not born to hide. It spreads." He clenched his fists. "If they come, we'll fight. You will not fight alone." Before he could answer, the map within the Valkyrie changed again. One by one, the stars on the display flared to life, each one answering the call. Lyra gasped. "Captain, those other worlds, they're waking up." Tess stepped forward, her voice trembling. "You've started something bigger than war, Aaron. You've awakened an entire network." Aaron looked at the glowing horizon. "No," he said quietly. "We just reminded the galaxy that humanity doesn't kneel." Far above the planet, unseen fleets began to move. Valhari warships forming in clusters, Alliance convoys rallying in silence. And somewhere, in the deep dark between stars, ancient signals pulsed back to life. Across countless forgotten worlds, buried monuments began to glow. They whispered in a chorus that spread through space like the echo of a heartbeat. "They mocked us once.
Never again." Lyra watched the sky until dawn, the stars burning brighter than she had ever seen. "What happens now, sir?" she asked softly. Aaron's gaze remained fixed on the light climbing the horizon. "Now," he said, "the galaxy learns what happens when you mock the fire that made it."
Dawn broke across the alien world like the slow rise of a new age. The sky glowed with silver fire, the clouds painted by the pulsing monuments that had awakened all across the planet. The ground thrummed with living energy, steady, calm, and powerful, as if the world itself was breathing in time with the heartbeat of Valkyrie 12. Captain Aaron Holt stood at the edge of the valley, the wind tugging at his torn uniform. Below him, the crew worked tirelessly, preparing for what might be the final stand, or the first step into something far greater. Beside him, Lieutenant Lyra, Den watched the horizon where faint glimmers of light blinked in and out of the clouds. "They're coming," she said quietly. Aaron nodded. "Let them." Across the heavens, fleets converged. The Valhari armada, cold and endless, moved like a tide of silver knives. The Alliance fleets followed behind, not as saviors, but as watchers, wary and uncertain, unwilling to admit fear yet unable to hide it. And somewhere in that vast expanse, signals flickered from 100 forgotten worlds. Worlds that had once slept in silence, now shining in answer to the same call. We remember. We rise again. Inside Valkyrie 12, the new energy core pulsed softly, its rhythm syncing with the planet. The air hummed with a quiet, serene strength. Commander Tess Arvin leaned against the console, studying the readings. "If those Valhari ships fire," she said, "this world won't survive the bombardment." Lyra replied, "Neither will they." Tess turned to Aaron. "You could start a war that burns half the galaxy." Aaron looked out the viewport. "Or stop one that's been burning for centuries," she frowned. "You think you can reason with them?" "No," he said. "But maybe I can remind them what they've forgotten." When the first Valhari broadcast came through, the voice was smooth and cold. Admiral Voran again, somehow still alive. "Captain Holt, the galaxy watches. You have something that belongs to us. Surrender the world, and your people will be spared." Aaron stepped closer to the comms array. His voice, calm and steady, carried the weight of every scar and every victory humanity had ever earned. "You mock what you don't understand, Admiral. You always have. You think strength is measured by the size of your fleet, the power of your guns." He paused, looking to the stars where her ships glowed faintly. "But strength is the hand that rises again after it's been broken. It's the voice that sings even when the world goes silent. It's humanity." Voran's laughter hissed through the speakers. "Poetry will not save you." Aaron smiled faintly. "No, but it will outlive you." He cut the transmission. Then the world began to sing. The monuments scattered across the planet flared in unison, their light reaching into the sky and touching the ships above. Across the galaxy, every awakened world answered back, weaving a web of brilliance, a chorus of light and memory stretching from one end of known space to the other. Tess whispered, awestruck, "It's not a weapon. It's a signal." Lyra's eyes widened. "They're linking together." The energy wrapped around the Valhari fleet, not burning but showing. Their ships flickered, and in the flicker, their crews saw visions of ruined Earth cities, of human hands building, bleeding, reaching toward stars that laughed. Of every sacrifice, every hope, every small act of defiance that defined the species they had mocked. The laughter that had echoed through centuries fell silent. Even the Valhari admiral, watching from her command deck, felt her cold certainty crumble. "What are they?" she whispered. A voice, not human, not alien, answered in her mind. "We are what you feared you could never destroy." And the light dimmed. When the radiance faded, the Valhari fleet began to withdraw, engines flickering, formation breaking. The Alliance ships held position, silent and still. For the first time in galactic memory, not a single gun fired. On the planet's surface, the wind carried a new sound, a quiet hum, almost like distant singing. Lyra turned to Aaron. "They're leaving." He nodded slowly. "No one wins a war against memory." Tess stepped forward. "The Alliance will come for you, Captain. They'll want answers." Aaron smiled faintly. "Then they'll get them. But not from a man begging for recognition. From a people who've earned it." He looked up at the sky, once a cage of mockery, now a canvas of possibility. "Tell them," he said, "that the children of Earth have remembered who they are." Weeks later, the broadcasts began. Across 1,000 worlds, transmissions appeared, Human voices speaking softly carried on the frequencies of the monuments. They told stories, not of conquest but of endurance, courage, and love. They spoke of a species once mocked, now unbowed. The galaxy listened, some with fear, some with wonder, but all with silence, because even among the oldest stars, something had changed. No longer did they whisper Earth with disdain. Now they spoke it with awe, and somewhere, aboard a ship that once burned through the darkness, Captain Aaron Holt closed his eyes and listened to the hum beneath his feet, the heartbeat of a world that had remembered him. "They mocked us once," the voice whispered. "But you turned them to ashes." Aaron smiled. "No," he said softly. "We turned them to light." The stars shimmered in reply, bowing for the first time to humanity's fire.